Hello, everyone. It's Thursday. It's 6 p.m. It is time for the Legal Lounge podcast. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. This week, I wanted to pick up um, on what we talked about last week because I had a lot of questions this week, as you can imagine. And I wanted to clear up a lot of things and I wanted to cover some things and go over them again. Sorry, I mute my phone. Okay. I'm gonna bring up the presentation again so that we can talk about it. I'm not gonna go through it slow. I'm gonna catch you guys up and kind of summarize it again, and then as I go through it, I'm gonna use that as a way to answer the questions that I got this past week. So, what else did I want to say? Oh, welcome to those of you who may be new. I know I just jumped right into it, but it's always a lot to talk about. There's a lot to do. And so this is the Legal Lounge podcast. It's every Thursday at 6 p.m. And what I like to do is talk about some legal, social issues, different things that I've noticed in my career that people have a lot of questions about. And I like to answer those things, give a presentation, give some information, help people know how to navigate the legal system, how to navigate other things, just to kind of make everyone's life easier, to give them information. So if you go to my YouTube page, the old videos are there, and there's videos on child support and custody and divorces and things to do in an emergency, like how to get your birth certificate, emergency documents, how to file for emergency assistance. There's all kind of topics there. And if everyone could go to my YouTube channel and subscribe so that you know when I go live, it's a lot right now because, of course, I don't have any help for me to send the messages out individually to people about the podcast. But if you follow my Facebook page, either Mitchell Legal Solutions or my personal page, I have Instagram, Mitchell Legal Solutions, and then the YouTube page. If you subscribe there, you'll see when I go live, and that'll be real helpful. So hold on one second. Looks like um wonderful. Just have a comment from someone saying just thanking me for doing the recap because it was a lot of information last week, and that's what a lot of people are saying. So I am happy to do it because we want, everyone to understand what was said, what's going on. We feel like it was valuable information. So let me share my screen. Let's see. Okay. Share. Let's see. And pull up this. Okay, so hopefully it looks like from everything I'm seeing that you all can see the screen that has the presentation that's up. And let me see what view I'm in. If you guys, I think what I did last time was gallery view, but anyway, hopefully your picture on your Zoom is up in the corner and then you can see this presentation. And okay, so he started out with a question like, hey, how much is the earth worth? The point of that is to just, let everybody know the earth has a value, and that value comes from rare earth minerals and different things like that, which have been talked about in the news. China has it's some under almost every country, but these rare earth minerals can form the basis of assets for people. So then he talked about the 11 financial sectors. See, materials, energy, real estate, utilities. These financial sectors, these are different ways you can invest. When you get to the point that you want to buy a stock, or you want to buy ETF, or you want to start getting into the market even just a little bit, these are the different sectors that you can invest in. And each one of them has, an advantage and disadvantage in investing in those sectors. But this is basically the economy. All of these different sectors make up the economy. And sometimes, like right now, see, real estate, housing is a problem in the economy right now because interest rates are high. So at different times, there are different pros and cons to investing in each one of these sectors, but you should know what each one of the sectors are, eventually for when you get to that point where you want to invest. These are the market indices that you are probably most familiar with: S&P 500, Dow Jones, the Nasdaq. So the slide I just showed you with the 11 sectors, they show up in these financial markets right here. And this is kind of a snapshot of how the economy is doing, but it's also an indication of how much trading is going on, how much companies are worth, how much each sector is worth, and that kind of thing. You track that in the economy. Then he moved on and he showed you his truck. The purpose of showing you the truck was just to say, he didn't come from money. He didn't have rich parents or anything like that. He was a young man in a tight spot in terms of his finances, in terms of, just what he was going to do to be able to take care of himself, take care of his family. He had been in the military. He was a firefighter. He got injured as a firefighter, and he needed a job where he could sit because he injured his foot. So being weight bearing on his foot for the next, I think that happened when he was in his 30s. So being weight bearing on his foot for the next 30 years wasn't an option. So he got into trucking because that was something where he could make decent money, but be sitting. And so he started Watts Delivery Systems. He had a lot of other businesses, but this truck was the main way. That was the money that he made that helped him get this lifestyle going. This plan to save money and this plan to try to become wealthy started with this truck. That was the point of him showing you that. Then he wanted to be transparent and show you what he was making. So he has some pay stubs here that were kind of reflective of the kind of money he was making. Y'all see they dated 2014, 2015. So that's 10, 12 years ago, 11 years ago now. So remember, he said this wasn't an overnight thing, that this is a 2 to 10 year process, is what this is. A 2 to 10 year process on getting the money set up the way you need it set up in order to grow into the type of money that you need, whether that's to start a business, to buy a house, to save for your retirement, to send your child to college, to have just a nest egg for yourself. That's kind of what he was showing you with this, that he was, making some decent money from trucking. And so he was in a fortunate situation where when he was driving his truck, he had a lot of time on his hands. So he would listen to a lot of different financial information. I don't really know if they had podcasts in 2014, 2015, but he would listen, the audio books, listen to the radio, listen to different things. And he was just because of the monetary situation he had been in, his personal finances and different things, he was looking for a way in order to improve his situation. So that was the point of the check. Then he moved on just to say, hey, this gaming truck, this was something that I was able to do with the money from trucking. It was another way for me to make money to one, take care of my family, but number two, invest into this asset pyramid that's coming up that I'm getting ready to show you. So that was the point of showing you this gaming truck. It was just another way to make money. That's when he said he had the only gaming truck in Central Illinois, or the first one that was up and running. And he did a lot of events like you see right here. That was another way for him to make money. Okay. Then he moved on just to show you the type of bank deposits. If you look at these bank deposits, now these are dated 2021, 2022, 2023. This was just him showing that over time this was what he was able to do. So now remember, the check stubs I showed you were 2014 and 2015. So now you're talking 7, 8 years later, and he was just once again just trying to be transparent and show you all, okay, this was the kind of money I was able to get to, but just from driving a truck and stuff. But I will say, because of course I know him well, it takes a lot of discipline. It's a lot of discipline, and to be honest, he probably has a lot more discipline than a lot of people will have. He has a lot more than I have because I like to vacation and I like to do things. He is a lot better at delayed gratification, and he is a lot better at just kind of not buying some of the things that he wants in order to make something like this work, right? Now, he has some things he wants, because remember, he said he has classic cars, he has some collectible items, he has things like that. But I will be honest and say it takes some discipline in order to be able to say, I'm going to save X amount of dollars, whatever it is. Um, because it's just things are really tight and it's really hard. But anyway, the point of this was just to show you after a certain number of years where he was able to get to where he can make deposits. So, he could have put on this podcast and said a lot of stuff to y'all, but then people be like, well, I mean, how much money does he have or whatever? So he just wanted to be very transparent about this is not just something I made up. This is not something I read in a book. This is something I have spent 20 years doing, and this is where it got me. And he wanted y'all to see that along the way. So then he moved into this asset pyramid um, to say that this is what he did with the money. So as he's working that trucking company and accumulating this money, he's making sure he gathers hard assets. The job is the cash flow, and then he's making sure he gets some or has some paper investments. This is, remember, your 401k, your pension, a CD, a mutual fund, stocks, different things like that. So this is how you should structure this. Hard asset should be the base. It should be the foundation, because when all else fails, this is what you'll fall back on. The hard assets, this is your, the equity you have in your home. This is, any, gold, silver, that kind of thing. There's actually a list right here: land, trees, water, buildings, art, collectibles, different things like that. That's what it should be at the bottom of your pyramid. This is the stuff that's going to shore up your financial plan. This is what's going to be here. So in other words, you don't want to have a pyramid. Well, when I say a pyramid, this pyramid is basically your financial situation. You don't want to have one where the bulk of what you have is stocks, bonds, cash, and pension over this stuff down here. Um, because the stuff down here at the bottom in hard assets is what's going to be there, and it's what's going to shore up your whole financial situation. Okay, so he talked about that. This up here in the corner, remember he gave the example. This is the person that make $500,000 a year. If they make that on a W-2 job, they're gonna pay 35% in taxes. And if they make that on 1099, they're gonna pay 39% in taxes. And right here, a person with 120,000, they only gonna pay 24,000 in taxes, W-2, 37%. Did I just say, what did I say, 24? I meant 24%. I'm sorry, I don't know what I just said. 24% in taxes, W-2, 37% in taxes for 1099. And really, you could get these numbers down with deductions and write-offs and business expenses, especially if you're 1099, you probably won't even pay 37%. But the point of this is really the person with $120,000 is often in a better position than the person with 500,000, because they end up paying a lot more of this in taxes, especially if this person is a single person. So he stated that when he started, or a lot of people when they start, this is kind of how their asset pyramid looks. 25,000 in hard assets, 75,000 is income, and then 15,000 in paper assets. This could be your 401k if you're new on a job, or if you have a few stocks or something like that. That's what this could be up here. So basically, when you first start out with everybody, with most people, really their income is what they have. And this is why you got to really get strict with yourself and manage your income in order to feed this bottom part down here, these hard assets, and to some extent your paper assets, if this is going to be a lot of, stocks and bonds and stuff up here. So he was just, a lot of people start this way, and that's okay. We're all starting from a certain point. So a lot of the comments that I got was, oh my God, I don't have that kind of money. I don't have that much money. And we felt like we were really reinforcing that this was not about starting with the 20, even in the receipts that you saw earlier, the 20,000 or the 50,000, this is not about starting here. As you can see, I showed you stubs from 2014. This is 2021 and 2023. Okay. And to be very honest, if I know what this is, this $53,000 right here, this was from when my dad died and he got my dad's pension, what was left of it. So this wasn't even, money that he made. So I'm just putting that out there to say that um we're this definitely wasn't about expecting people to have ten or $20,000, not even $5,000. When we did that self-banking demonstration, we did that with $1,500. But if you'll remember last week, what we said was you can do that self-banking setup that we did with as little as $300. So I want to impress again this week that it's not about starting with 10 or $20,000 and not even $5,000. If you have to start with $300 or you have to start with $500, everybody has to start somewhere. And when you start there, that is also a chance for you to educate yourself and get familiar with some of the things like these 11 sectors and start paying attention to some of the um, marketing information out there, because as we said last week, and I've been remiss and have not said yet, neither one of us are financial advisors. What he did was tell you what he figured out and what worked for him. And so that's why too he's quick. This is a 2 or 10 year journey, if not more, but it's not a quick fix. This is not a get rich quick over tomorrow. It is how to use your income over time, because time is the best thing you have. Because the way he was able to, like, at the when I show you, like when he showed you his accounts and the balance, the way he was able to double that money so fast is by compounding. And so you have time on your side when you can compound interest. And remember, he said he only deals with things where his money compounds daily. So, while you are figuring out how much money you have to feed your asset pyramid, you could be learning about these different things. And you can start with $300. And the important thing, usually how humans work and how the brain work is when you start seeing progress, you want more progress. It's just like when you lose 10 pounds, you like, okay, I can lose five more. Like if you're trying to lose weight and you get on the scale and you keep seeing it go the other way, like how many of us have dieted for like 2, 3, 4, 5 days? Like, I'm gonna get on the scale, and you actually gain some weight. You like, forget it, I'm going to KFC or whatever, right? But if you get on the scale and you've lost 10 pounds, then yeah, you're gonna have a salad for lunch, you're gonna work out, you're gonna, keep going because you want to keep seeing it's the same thing with your money. And so even if you have to start, just like when you lose weight, you don't work out for a week and lose 50 pounds at the end of the week. You work out for a week and you may lose 1 pound. Like I said, you may gain a pound, but you may lose 1 pound, or you might lose 3 pounds, and then you just keep going. So I'm gonna emphasize, emphasize, emphasize. The point of it was not to be like, hey, put 20,000 in and do this. The point was just to show you that at a certain point, once you get to those numbers and you get compounding, your number can really grow. But he started out just with a job and a commitment to divert his income, as much of it as he could, to this asset pyramid. Okay. He showed you this gold piece. He buys little gold bars like this, and he buys silver pieces like this. And of course, if y'all are watching the price of gold, it's through the roof now. 20 years ago, he was telling me to buy gold. But I mean, I'm trying to get out of law school. I got kids to raise. I'm like, I can't buy gold. And it's all relative, because back then, I thought it was expensive. Well, if I would have bought it then, gold is through the roof now. So, it's all relative, but you can buy them in little pieces. Oh, wait, this says fine silver. I told y'all this was gold. It looked like gold in the picture. This is 0.99 fine silver, 10 troy ounces. So this is actually silver. Sorry, y'all. It looked like gold and I'm just talking, but now I'm reading it. It's silver. So that was the point of him showing you this. This is just another way. It's one from the hard asset thing. It's a hard asset. It will go down here. It's another way though to shore up your asset pyramid. Okay. These are his cars. He was just, showing you. So this is his thing. And that's when I jumped in last week and said, hey, I've got purses. People have those little beanie baby things. People have stamps. It's all kinds of things you can collect. So if you, have some things that you're interested in and you want to collect, do that. This was also the time period where we said, if you're a Nike shoe wearer, or if you have your homeowner's insurance through Progressive, you should probably have Progressive stock. If you wear Nike shoes, and that's your thing, not just one pair, but that's like your brand that you always buy, maybe you should have some Nike stock. So on that note, I'm going to stop right there to tell you, because what was left out last week was we didn't get a chance to tell you guys how to look up a stock and how to vet a bank. So basically how you look up a stock is you just put the name in Google, like Nike, and then you put ticker behind it. It's going to give you the symbol, and then you put it, it may all at the same time give you the symbol and the information on the stock. But if it doesn't, then you just turn around and put that ticker symbol in on Yahoo Finance. So you can put it in any what like financial website you want to put it in, and then all the information on that stock is going to come up. And it's something you'll have to start learning how to like analyze and read, but you can see through graphs, charts, and through reading the description like how well it's doing. How you vet a bank is you put the bank's name into Google, and then after the name you put assets, and then it's gonna bring up that bank and everything that it owns, how many customers it has, how much money it's holding. You know, you'll get a good sense if you then you could just continue on with that research. You'll get a good sense of, is that bank is it a strong bank? Is it going to be around? Has it been around? The reason we were talking about vetting banks, I'm saying banks, but remember last week we talked a lot about credit unions. The reason you want to vet is because you don't want to go, put your money in a failing bank. The money will, for the most part, if you put it in an FDIC insured bank, should be insured. But you want to put your money somewhere where they have enough lending power to lend back to you. You want to develop a relationship with a bank that has enough lending power, and it's on a solid enough foundation to be able to lend back to you, and they don't just need your money to lend out, but they can't lend you any. So that was the point of those two things. Okay, so he just showed you something where there was this undeveloped land. He bought it, he developed it into this. That's the bottom of his asset pyramid. He's just showing you that you can acquire, whether it's residential property or commercial property, which is what he does now. Now he more so acquires commercial property and not residential property, and then you can slowly turn it into. I think this it may have taken him maybe 10 years to do this, nothing overnight. Keep in mind too, a good bit of it he could do himself. So you have to keep that in mind if you have to try to, so like maybe property development, you don't want to get a piece of property and develop it. You might want to get something that's already ready to go. Like you may want to buy a townhouse. You could buy a townhouse or duplex structure. You could buy a duplex and you can live in one half, and your tenant will be in the other half, and it'll be paying, actually their rent will pay the entire mortgage, and you are living there for free. That's actually a great solution for a single mother, for a young single woman, really a young single male. It's a good solution for a lot of people, but you can actually buy a duplex and live on one side. Your tenant will be paying rent, and that rent will cover the whole mortgage. You can actually get one of those through state programs for purchasing. You can actually use state programs to purchase 2 to 4 dwelling units. And you can actually use government money to renovate them as well. So that's a discussion that I can have with you as a real estate agent. You want to contact me, we can talk about that. But the point of me saying that is this right here, this property development, the way he did it, he was able to do a lot of this. But a lot of us cannot do that. We don't either have the time or the expertise or whatever. So what you might want to buy is just a duplex. You live in one side, you let the tenant live in the other side. You are basically living there for free because they are covering the whole mortgage. Or you may want to get a townhouse and rent that out or Airbnb it in order to get you some extra money. It's just this was just putting in your mind the different options that you can do with real estate in order to help build up the bottom part of your pyramid. he made a point of saying, really, there's only three ways you're going to acquire wealth. You're either going to inherit it, you're going to win the lottery, or you got to work this asset pyramid in order. And most working people, most of us, this is what we have to do. Most of us won't inherit enough in order to, get to the million or $2 million. Or if you just want to have 200,000, most of us may not inherit enough to get there. The lottery, somebody just won, but it was not me. So I'm still here, y'all. The asset pyramid. Okay. The self-banking demonstration that we did where we said, take out a secured loan, pay it back with your own income. You're gonna put the $300 in the bank. Then you're gonna go back a week later and ask for a $300 loan. You're going to put that $300 in a different interest bearing account. You're going to use your own income to pay off the $300 over a minimum of 3 months. Whenever you do the self banking demonstration we did last week, do it over a minimum of 3 months because that's where you get the maximum impact for credit reporting. And I'm saying maximum. Maybe I should say minimum because a big part of your credit score is how long you have accounts. The minimum amount you want to have an account for is 3 months. So you want to make at least three payments on it. And then when you pay it off and they give it to you, you add it with the other money. And then you just keep doing that until your money adds up. If you want to do $300 every time, that's fine. If you want to do the $600 because that's now what you have, in the other bank, or you might want to just do 500 and leave 100 in that other bank, then you'll come out of that 3 months later with $1,000. Now, so you say, why would you do it that way? Because if you have enough discipline to just save money on your own, then you can do that. But most people, like most of us, don't. So what you're doing is you're taking that money to the bank and you say, here, banker, I want to deposit $300 because I want a relationship with you. And then when you go borrow the $300, you're paying that back with your own money out of your income because that's almost like a forced savings, but you're also getting the benefit of increasing your credit score and building a relationship with the bank. So it has other advantages, which is why you do it that way. Because remember, he said once he developed the relationship with the bank, they called him privately and said, hey, you have this money in the bank. Why don't you let us borrow it at I can't remember what percentage he said they loaned it to him they paid him for it. But that was a call they made to him, and that was only through a bank relationship. So that's the reason why you would do it that way. And you increase your credit score. Like I said, as realtors, that was a trick we use all the time to get people's credit score up. Go ahead, get a secured loan, pay on it for 3 months. Their score will go up anywhere from 60 to 100 points. Okay, so we talked about that. And then so we went through this is so by the time he had gone through years, he had probably by the time okay, so remember this 200,000, it really was remember the 200,000 was really 100,000. So what he said back when I showed you the stubs from him working the job, back here from these stubs, what he did was he was able to do the $100,000. I'm gonna put this in the bank, and then I'm gonna borrow it. And then he said he made payments for 4 years of maybe $2,000 a month or something like that. He said, right? So really, he started with 100,000, but he did that self banking thing. Now he saved 100,000. That's why I go back and say it was self-discipline. But remember, you don't have to save that much. You can save 1,000 and do it. So that's where this number comes from. And then when the bank called and said, hey, can we borrow your money? The bank asked him to borrow his money. This was what he made every year on it. And then that's how he got to 3,000. And then he invested that. So I'm trying to find the formula. The formula that was advertised, I thought I had it on here and I don't see it now. There was a formula that was like a circle plus a square plus a pyramid kind of thing. So what that was really I'll see if I can find it. It was the earth plus banking plus your job. That's what equals the money you need for the asset pyramid. So that's this down here. So he just ended up having a 300,000 to put in there. But this number for you could be 1,000 because we're all starting from zero. He's been doing this for 20 to 30 years. 20 years minimum, right? He's been doing this. So basically, what he's at the end of it saying, "Hey, y'all, I did it and it worked." Oh, let me show you. Because that's when he showed these numbers right here. And so account details 8/9/23. So he has this $187,000. And then on this is December 10, 2025. So 2 years later, it's almost doubled. This is the effect of the compounding. And this is when he said he only deals with accounts where his money compounds daily. So he just came on and said this is the end result of hey. So he's like, hey y'all, this is how I did it. I'm just a regular working person. I diverted my money into hard assets. I used that self banking to continue to double my money in order to be able to feed my pyramid. And he was just committed enough to start with, he so it took him years to save the first 100,000. It took him years to do that. But as y'all can see, once he did that, so then he put that in the bank, then he had to spend 4 more years paying off the $100,000 loan that got him to 200,000. So as y'all can see in 2023, um, this shows the 187, but he's just getting there, but this was because he had that good start, but the money really started picking up after he got to the first 100,000, really the 200,000 mark. But so whatever your budget allows you to do, that's just what his budget allowed him to do because he made decent money trucking. He had a wife that was working that could, of course, help pay the household bills. Everybody's situation is different. But at whatever point you can get enough money to get compound interest working for you, that's kind of where it will take off. And it doesn't take being in the hundreds of thousands. It just takes being, I mean, 20,000 compounds good. 30,000 compounds good. You just have to find a way to start to save to get there. But as you can see on a lot of the receipts and stuff he has, it didn't happen overnight. He's been working at it for years. And you'll be happy with the number when you get in your 40s or 50s and you get to 60 and you got a good bit of money. Some of the stuff that maybe you had to sacrifice in order to save the money to get there, you won't mind so much when you have the money you need. I had him add this second screen in right here, so it's 327, because this 327 is just 6 months away from this 300, and I just wanted you to see how fast the money is growing. So why did we feel like it was important to share this information as one way to grow your assets and to start to save was because of this K-shaped economy. So a K-shaped economy applies to a lot of different things. This is a K-shaped economy due to AI. See, 20% of job skills will become 10 times more productive because AI is going to enhance those skills. You need to look up and see if your skills is one of them. But 80% of job skills will plummet to zero because they'll be replaced by AI. Are you currently working in an area that is susceptible to being replaced by AI? You need to start thinking now about how to acquire skills that AI cannot totally replace, and you need to be working on your asset pyramid. This is one example of a K-shaped economy that's affected by AI, that's driven by AI, right? So this was another K-shaped economy that depicts the haves and the have-nots. And that's why it was important. We wanted to show you I'm sorry, he's texting me now while I'm doing this, trying to tell me stuff. I'm just not noticing. Okay. So so this K-shaped economy of the haves and the have-nots, you see on this line going up for the haves, it says asset owners. We were just trying to impress upon you that it's important to have some kind of asset. And what I was saying last week was for a lot of us working people, it's our house, is our biggest asset that we have. But if you remember going back to the asset pyramid that has the descriptions of what you can have down there, then see these hard assets down here, collectibles, arts, building, water, trees, land. So the house is what most of us have. Some people have land. The trees are like it, I know some people in Mississippi have trees on their land and they sell them for their fruit trees, or they sell them for other, or for timber, that kind of thing. That's what that's talking about. So in that K-shaped economy where it says the haves and the have-nots, and it says the haves are asset owners. So we wanted to impress upon you to start thinking really hard about getting some of these assets down here and start to know what they are. And you may want to just draw a pyramid like this on a piece of paper and write in each block what you have so that you can start to think about it, because this K-shaped economy is a real thing. So the haves are assets owners. And you see on this little green arrow, you see these homes and you see coins, which is money. And then this, see this little jagged line, this is basically saying the stock market and different things like that, right? The have-nots are wage on earners. And this doesn't mean if you're part of the haves and you have assets, that doesn't mean you're not also a wage earner. This have-nots, this wage earners, this is saying these are only wage earners. They're not accumulating assets. They're not accumulating anything that's going to shore up and start to get them some wealth. So they are losing ground right here. Once you fall below this line, it's pretty much impossible to come back. And you see on this line right here, once you get below it, which is, I believe this is, well, of course it's time, but I think it might be income too. Then once you fall below this, then it's hard to recover. The other K-shaped economy was, see, affluent Americans getting hit, and low income, low asset households are falling behind. So you want to, accumulate assets as many as you can in as many different categories as I could name on that pyramid I just showed you. As many of them as you can get, just get it. And once again, I forgot this week. So there's something called goldbacks. It's money, and they are shaped like dollar bills, but they're made of pure gold. And me and my husband, when we go to the gun shows here in Texas, we buy them. And so they are money made out of pure gold, and they are shaped like dollar bills. I forgot to get it and show it to you this week. But we just get them and hold them and accumulate them, because remember, gold increases in value. So that that dollar bill, it's a gold back. That gold back that we're holding, if times became hard, we could melt it down for gold, right? But the value of it is going to continue. So if you have a $1 bill in your hand, it is only ever going to be worth $1. And as time goes on, technically that, like, $1 in 1988 is not the same as $1 today. So, but it's ever only going to be worth $1. It's not like you can hold a $1 bill and it has the one on it, right? And then in a week you go to the store and it's $5. It's always only going to be $1. If you're holding a gold bag, really what that is, they come in different denominations, they come in different sizes, but it's really weights of gold. And so they are in and of themselves are going to increase because they're pieces of gold. So that's just something that we buy. We spend about $40 to $60 every time, and we just pick them up. And that's what I'm saying, like, along you just accumulate things. And that's what I was saying last week. I was kind of laughing at myself, like, I got hard assets all over the place. I need to sit down and get my pyramid in order, because so of course my brother's been telling me for 20 years, what to do. And when I can, between raising kids and trying to pay bills and all that kind of stuff, when I can, I accumulate this stuff. And so no telling what I have now. And I just need to sit and figure it out. But you should have a more organized plan for what you want to accumulate and how you want to do it. But so, just saying that. Then he talked real quick about this bull and bear market. This line right here that goes across it, like if so he was saying if you're in a tight spot and you behind on accumulating savings, and I'll steer myself away from saying wealth because I don't want to scare y'all off. I'm just going to say accumulate savings, accumulate some money. If you this is the entry point down here. This is the entry point. You don't want to get in up here because then you lose too much. And if you get in up here, you got in too high. You want to get in down here and catch the accumulation, catch the ride going up. So sometimes I end up getting in around here. Sometimes I'll get in, mine will fall a little bit more, and then I catch the ride up. And if when you get into the market, it's a long-term thing. You got to get in and you got to hold it. You got to be able to weather the storm. You got to be willing to see your stock lose 20%, knowing that it'll come back up. Over the long run, over time, the stock market is a winner. It's up 75% of the time. The other reason that we felt we wanted to get this information out and talk to you all about it is because of the projection for Black wealth going forward is very bleak and dismal. And on my podcast, I always want to give information that uplifts people. It informs them. It gives them an action plan. It gives them information that other people are not necessarily really giving or saying clearly or whatever. And Black wealth is expected to basically hit zero in the next 20 to 30 years. And so we have to do something about it. This is the same thing because a lot of you all know I do estate planning. This is the same thing that I said ever since emancipation, since 1865 when slaves were freed, Black people have lost 11 million acres of land because we haven't protected it properly. We haven't had wills. We haven't done trusts. We don't do probate. When Big Mama died, the light bill be in her name for 10 or 12 or 13 years. It's unacceptable. As a people, we have to do better. And so I wanted to bring this out for those of us in our community that need to know this information. Black wealth is projected to be zero, and that's just unacceptable. And there's something we can start doing now in order to prevent that from being us. This was just another article. Median wealth of Black Americans will fall to zero by 2053. We already know the statistic right now is that white household wealth is 8 times that of the Black household. We already know that right now. Well, we saw the K-shaped economy that said the wage earners and the have-nots, we just gonna keep going down if we don't do something about it. So, we have to get a bigger role in this economy and we have to do better. Okay, so another thing that people asked for was they wanted an action plan of how to start and how to move forward. Before I tell you that, let me check these messages and see what he's saying. He couldn't be on tonight. He's doing another presentation, but he's sending me these notes. I guess he's listening on the side or something while he's doing this presentation. Hold on. Let's see. He said it took him 10 or 15 years to do this process, but that you all could do it in 10 years or less. And the reason why I think he's saying you could do it in 10 years or less is because this economy is getting ready to boom because of crypto, stable coins. There's going to be a wealth transfer from currency, paper money, to digital money. And that's a whole nother discussion. You want to posture yourself and be there for this change from paper currency to digital money. That's one reason why you can make the ground up faster than he did, because that wealth transfer is going to be for real. It says, yeah, I think we said last week he actually has 6 accounts. The account I showed you was one account. Um, Oh, he says another reason why you can do it faster than he did was because a lot of his time was trial and error. He'd been trying to figure stuff out, but basically he's cutting out all the mistakes and is telling you kind of just straight what to do without the mistakes. That's cool. I'll take that. And just for me as a little sister, usually, okay, not usually, he's always right. I hate it. I can't stand it, but I'm saying it here on this recording, here on this podcast. He's always right. He has never steered me wrong. And if somebody else can take the knocks and somebody else can make the mistakes and you can just learn straight from that, let's all do that. Okay. Especially when we're talking about learning with money. I mean, a lot of us don't have a lot of time to learn with money. And if he's already made the mistakes and he's already figured it out, well, then, with the caveat that neither him nor I are financial advisors, he's literally just telling you what he did in order to start to get his money up. Then, hey, let's do that, right? I don't see anything else. Let me see if there are any questions on the let me stop. Oh, wait, here, let's see if there's, no, I don't think there's, okay, so there's no questions. Okay, if y'all have questions, put them in the Q&A. Okay, so an action plan for moving forward. This is what I would suggest. Okay, so like I said, get a piece of paper out and figure out what you have. What can go in those categories. And then, and we all have a budget, okay? And no, so we all have a budget. I mean, I'm probably starting 1,500, if that. See what you can, if you want to do the self-banking thing that we did, I would say find you a credit union or two in your area and, you know, figure out which ones you want to establish a relationship with. Then go in and ask them, what are their rules or terms for doing a secured loan, and figure that out. And then just do one cycle. If you can do a minimum $300, just open an account with $300. And then, take out the secured loan for $300. Don't spend that money. Put it in another interest-bearing account. Okay. Then don't forget, you're going to make payments on the $300 you just borrowed, but you're going to do it out of your paycheck, out of your income. Okay. So I would just say pay $100 a month for 3 months and pay it off. When they give you that $300 after you pay the loan off, take that and put it with your first 300. You're gonna have $600. And then after that, if you want to do it again, go ahead and do it again. If you want to look at maybe what one stock you want to look at and you want to track, do that. If you need help in that area, I would say, of course, do some research, look up the stock, but you can also get, I don't want to say a financial planner or advisor. You can get a financial planner or advisor to help you pick stocks and to help you get going. But I know also Vanguard and Fidelity, they have a service where it's almost automated and it helps you pick stock as well. If you want to just buy one stock, just buy one just to see. I would recommend though that you do get with a financial advisor to put you a whole plan together to say, look, I want to start, I got to save better, I want to invest, I want to do these things. Can you give me a plan? Now, you have to find one that'll work with you at whatever level you at. Probably if you need help with that, reach out to me and I can probably help you with that. I know a few different ones. And so it's hard to say like on here, um, kind of how to choose one. But if you call me, I can help you with that. Let me see what else we left off. And wish I don't have, um, so the flyer that we did last week, that had the formula on it. So remember the formula was the circle was the earth. That is everything is contained. That is the sectors, the minerals, anything dealing with stock, it was that, plus the bank, plus your asset pyramid, plus your job, that equals the money. That's what that formula was. Let me think of what other questions people had for me. The biggest question was how to get started. How to get started is to know exactly what's in your asset pyramid, then have a plan for acquiring the rest of the things. Are you on a job and you have a 401k and you don't know how much your employer is contributing, you don't know how much you're contributing, and you don't know how much is in it? Find out. Do you have a pension and you don't understand how it works? Figure that part out. Okay. And then like I said, figure out what stocks you think you might be interested in getting. Is there a CD that you can purchase for $600 or $1,000 hold it for 6 months or a year, and then get the return off of that. Because all of that, everything you do when you get the extra money, you're not spending it. You're putting it in that account. This is what he did. That's why it takes a lot of discipline. I know for me personally, like I said, I'm going to get my pyramid figured out. But I mean, it's the end of the month. Everybody, these bills are ready to be due on the first. I'm going to cut my TV off. I'm going to cut off some things. And a lot of people don't have TV. I'm probably the last person in America with TV, I know, but I'm just saying that's an expense I have that I'm just getting rid of expenses because these are not the days to have a lot of expenses. Gas is high. A lot of things are high right now. I need to increase my savings, and the only way to do that is to cut a lot of things. And so I'm getting ready to have a real discussion with myself on what to cut, but it takes a lot of discipline, especially once you see your money accumulating and growing. It takes a lot of discipline to not spend that. At the point that you have, you're not even 100. Say you got $41,000 in the bank, you had $68,000 in the bank, and something happens. You almost have to pretend like you don't even have that money, like it's not there, because you need to get to the place where you can get to where he got, where your money is doubling, every so many years, every 4 years, every 6 years or whatever, and even faster once you get more money that's compounding daily. So you have to have a good amount of discipline to do it, because as we all know, things happen. You'll have $48,000 in the bank, one day, because you're saving. This might be 2.5 years down the road, right? Because you're gonna make some hard decisions. You're gonna not eat out as much. You'll buy Starbucks only twice a week instead of every day. You maybe won't take that trip with your friends because you need to save that money. It's a lot of hard decisions that's going to have to be made. But you'll have $48,000 in the bank, and then you'll get, two flat tires or something within a week, and really you're not touching that money. You have to figure out of the budget you have in your household how you're going to pay for that. And you have all this money sitting over here. That's how you get from where you are to the examples that he's showing you. You can't touch that money. You got two flat tires, and you don't get paid for 2 more weeks. But you can't touch that money, because once you nibble off of it, you'll keep nibbling off of it. But the money you take from it hurts your compounding. And so you have to have a plan for that. And you have to get your mind right. People are saying, they call me all week saying, well, I don't understand where to start. We all got to get our minds right on this money, that as we save it, we can't spend it. We have to save it so we can get enough of it to a certain place where we can invest it, and we can keep doing our what you calling the self-banking, keep doubling it. We have to get into a place where we can do that so we can have these effects. So if you are motivated enough to say it's 2026, and by 2035, by 2034, even by 2030, that sounds like a long way off. And I don't want to make it sound, because if you start, you could see progress in a year, right? You could see progress in 18 months. Of course, but when you start getting to the big numbers is when you really gonna see it. That's when you talk about, hey, I want to retire, or I want to take a big trip and sail the Mediterranean on Viking. Those cruises that you see are $15,000. Well, maybe at the point you have $350,000, you will pay for a $15,000 cruise. Okay, that's fine, but you're not going to get there by spending the money along the way. So figure out what you already have, figure out what you need. So, like for me, like anybody to watch my podcast know, I always try to use myself as an example. I'm out here like y'all fighting this fight. So I have some collectibles. I have the purses. I probably have a few other things as collectibles. I don't have any art. I have a house, and for me personally, just being transparent and honest, I purposely structured it where I'm trying to hold my wealth in my house, because I know I got to pay that house note every month. And every month I pay my house note, I'm getting equity in my house. And so because I know I otherwise right now I'm not in a position to save like I have been in the past. I'm relying on the equity of my house as a big part of my pyramid foundation. So, I don't have the waters, I don't have trees, I don't have land. Land is something that I can acquire. I'm looking at that right now as a real estate agent. I can, of course, do my own deal. So I'm looking at that right now. Um, so on my pyramid, business, I have, several businesses. Some are, profitable and sustain themselves. Some are not. I got to work on that. I don't have any leases. I don't have a partnership anymore. I had one. Don't have the investors. I have my state of Tennessee pension at the top. I have that. A lot of, I had cancer several years ago. I rated all of my retirement accounts because I couldn't work. So there's a lot of people that's in a situation like that. So that's part of my rush to get my situation straight is because I'm getting closer to retirement. And instead of some of the other retirement monies that I had, I took all of that when I was sick and couldn't work. And so now all I have is my state of Tennessee pension and would have took that except they wouldn't let me. Okay. And then and I have some stocks, I have crypto, I have different things like that. So, mine is kind of shaping up. But the middle part, the cash flow, how many of us out here, everybody they just trying to pay the bill. We trying to pay these light bills and all that kind of stuff. But that's where you got to really look at the budget and say, okay, you know, maybe I can only go to the movies once every other month, or maybe I can, everybody's situation is different on where they can cut and where they are willing to cut. But we have to look at the things we have to do to feed this pyramid. So know where you are and know where you are trying to go. Point A to point B. My point A is I have the house. My point B is the house paid off. I want to pay my house off within the decade. So I'm on the hustle trying to pay my house off within a decade. Um, know where you're at, know where you want to be. Start to get information about at least one stock that you can invest in and start to understand the market. Um, you may need an a financial advisor to help you with that. But just the fact of you starting to think about it is a big step, and starting to work on your self banking strategy is a big step, and put your plan in place and then execute. We all have to execute. If it's $300, do $300 and keep doing it until you get to $2,000. When you get to $2,000, start doing 1,000. Just understand that whatever you take out, you have to pay that, out of your income. That's how you're saving. And I hope that makes sense to a lot of people. I hope I didn't leave anything out. The biggest thing that I want to say, and I'm gonna say it again. Hold on, let's see what he said. Oh, so he said if you want to buy equipment or an asset, do it with self-banking. At the end of it, you have the asset and all of your money back. That's another way to grow. He said he bought himself one nice thing every year until he got to his goal. That's what he did. He bought himself one nice thing a year. He said otherwise he saved all the money he could save and he invested it. This is what he's telling me on text messaging. So that is a way to not deprive yourself, because it can't be, I guess, all work and no fun. That's the way to not deprive yourself. So he said he bought himself one thing a year. Now he ain't saying what that one thing is. It could be, I don't know if the one thing was a classic car, or if the one thing, I don't know if the one thing was, but hey, based on your goals and how much you save, and I would think though, it's maybe hard or difficult as it would be. Say, like if you get to the point where you got $48,000 in the bank, then you want to buy one thing, you're not going to spend 25,000 on the one thing, because look how hard it was to save the 48. The one thing might cost $250, and you're like, okay, I'm back to saving. I know for me personally, when I, had, numbers like that in the bank, I did not, it's funny, like, when you have worked hard and you save and you see that money, and yeah, I mean, yeah, this is a beautiful watch. It's $850. Yeah, I could buy it. I had $48,000 in the bank, but I'm not getting ready to do it because of how hard it was to save that money, right? So actually, the more money you have, sometimes, especially if you had to work for it and you had to accumulate that over some years, you are not inclined to just go blow it on nonsense. So, let me think. Let me see if there was anything else. Um, so once again, this presentation, and like he said, this was him showing you after trial and error, after what he did, but he started in a truck as a maybe a 30-year-old, young black male, in a tight financial situation with a family to raise, and what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? He did not start with $300,000. He started with this truck and this paycheck, and you know, and he had to have a plan. So he started with this truck, driving his truck. Like, what am I gonna do? And then, he had some income. So it's like, okay, well, what do I have to do to take care of my family at home? Like I said, he had a wife, so that's helpful. A lot of us are single and maybe don't have that extra help. So, you have to factor that in. But how much can you contribute? I have Acorns, and I set my Acorns. It takes like $20 every Friday for me. I would waste $20. I would blow it. And really, my cousin, I give her props. My cousin, she had been sending me the link for Acorns forever. And I really did intend on doing it. I would just get busy and forget and get busy and forget. And I knew my brother was coming on to do this lecture. So I said, let me sit down and do these Acorns. But she showed me her Acorns, and it's thousands, y'all. And the Acorns is just, that's when every time you swipe your debit card, it'll round up and take that money. And then you can also have it take like 20, you can have it take however much you want out of your bank account every week. And of course, mine is set to, when I get paid or whatever, I just have mine set at $20 because that's all I can do. But but between the $20 and the rounding up, and the thing is, I keep forgetting I got Acorns. I just remembered it again, just telling y'all about it. But um to the extent you can have a set it and forget it kind of thing like that, that will help you save. I'll probably remember in 6 more months to a year. I'm like, hey, I got Acorns. I wonder how much is in there, but Acorns can accumulate fast because I believe there's an aspect to that that's investing as well. And so the money can grow pretty quickly in Acorns. So seeing my cousin sent me a snapshot of her Acorns account, and I was like, let me get on here. So Acorns, you can get, it's an app. But if I can send you a link, and then you'll get some startup money and I'll get some startup money. But I can send you the link for Acorns. If you would like that, it's just another way, you can do $10. You don't even have to do 20. The point to all of it is, as long as you have time on your side, time is a good thing for compounding interest. You need time and you need compounding interest. And you don't have to start with a lot. You just start where you are. Start where you are. Everybody that called me was like, I don't have that kind of money. You don't need it. He didn't either. He didn't either. He just had a higher tolerance. Like some people maybe can only do $100 a month. He was just able to do 2,000 a month. That's just what he could do. So that got him kicked off faster. And so do whatever you can do. I want to keep impressing that. Do whatever you can do, but start somewhere. Um, start somewhere. Let's see what else. Um, Let me see if there's any questions. I don't see any, I don't think. Okay. All righty. I'll stop sharing my screen then. Let's see. Okay, so that is kind of the recap and the roundup, which was the two things. Mostly people were concerned about the startup money needed, which is nominal. It's nothing. You can start with $300. And I'm only saying 300 because that's the lowest that I know banks will do the secured loan. And then just the steps to get started, which is know your finances. This is a good time for everybody to sit down and not only know what's in your asset pyramid, but know what are you paying every month. Like, I look through my statements and stuff and I'm paying for Hulu and this and that. I mean, like, what are you paying for every month? This is a good chance to go through your finances because maybe the stuff you cancel and some of the stuff that you don't need anymore, that's money you can divert to try to do this plan right here. Um, in order to start your asset pyramid with something. So I hope this has been helpful. You guys know how to reach out to me on my social media pages. A lot of you have my phone number and can, text me or call me and ask. And then, if you need help like with the stock ticker or finding a financial advisor or anything like that, I'm happy to help with that. I have a few relationships with some people and I can help you with that. I would just say don't um be paralyzed either from fear or from not knowing what to do next. If this still didn't help, call me because I'm committed to everyone being able to start somewhere and get started. And I can help you further. Okay. I hope everybody has a great Friday tomorrow. The weekend's coming. Yay. And yeah, just let me know. I hope you guys have a good night. Thank you so much for watching. Bye. Let's see.